She said she loved me. Said she'd never felt anything like this before. Said I was different. But all of it was a lie. I remember the night it all started to unravel. I was standing in front of the mirror adjusting the cuffs of my borrowed Armani blazer, something my best friend Tyler lent me for our anniversary dinner. My palms were sweating. My stomach twisted in knots. Not because I was nervous to see her, but because I wasn't sure if my debit card would go through at the restaurant I'd booked. One of those rooftop places downtown, the kind with gold-plated menus and $400 bottles of wine. I was praying the tips from my extra shifts at the auto shop would cover it. I'd even sold my Xbox to help pay for dessert. And for what? For the look in her eyes when the waiter brought out the champagne. For that sweet, fleeting moment when she'd wrap her arms around me and whisper, "You're amazing." That night, sitting across from her in candlelight, I watched her eyes sparkle, not at me, but at the necklace I'd just given her. A Tiffany pendant. Real silver. I'd scraped together every last dollar for it. Even lied to my landlord to delay rent. She beamed like it was the sun itself. "I don't know how I got so lucky," she said, fingering the chain delicately. I smiled, but my chest burned. Because I knew. She didn't love me. She loved what I could give her. Or at least, what she thought I could. She believed I came from money, and I let her believe it. At first, it was harmless. She assumed because I drove a decent car, wore clean clothes, and picked up the tab without blinking. I played along. I wanted her to see me as successful, desirable, worthy. And when she started hinting that her ex was a hedge fund guy who flew her to Miami for weekends, I felt small, insufficient. So I did the stupidest thing. I started borrowing. First from Tyler. Then from Marcus. Then from a guy I knew who charged interest like a loan shark. I built a fake world for her. Weekend trips I couldn't afford. Designer bags I got from second-hand resellers. Dinners that ended with me counting coins in my car, hoping to avoid overdraft fees. And she never questioned it. She never once asked how I made my money. Only what I'd spend it on next. But the truth doesn't stay buried. And one night she found it. It happened on a Tuesday. I was in the shower humming some tune mindlessly, the hot water beating down on my back. She had let herself into my apartment like she always did. I'd given her a key months ago in one of those impulsive gestures I thought proved love. I didn't hear anything unusual at first, no screaming, no slamming doors, just silence. The kind of silence that presses against your skin, too thick, too still. When I stepped out toweling my hair dry, I saw her standing in my bedroom. She was holding a drawer from my dresser, the one I kept locked. Somehow she had pried it open. In her hands were the IOUs, the pawn shop receipts, the overdue bill notices. All of it. The fragile paper trail of the life I was really living behind the curtain. I froze. She didn't. Her face didn't show anger. Not sadness. Not confusion. Just cold realization. "You lied to me," she said flatly. "You're not rich." I opened my mouth, then shut it again. She dropped the papers onto the bed like they disgusted her. "All this time, you've been faking it? Borrowing money to impress me?" I tried to explain. Told her how it started with one small lie. How I thought I needed to match the image she expected. How I just wanted to make her happy. "You manipulated me," she hissed, stepping back as if I was something rotten. "You made me believe you were someone you're not." "No," I said, my voice trembling. "I just wanted to show you I cared. I thought if I worked hard enough to give you the life you wanted." "You're pathetic," she snapped. "This whole time I thought you were ambitious. Confident. Stable. Turns out you're just a broke liar playing dress-up." It felt like she had slapped me. All I could do was stand there, half-dressed, soaking wet, heart-pounding. "You said you loved me," I whispered. She scoffed. "I loved who I thought you were. Not this broke loser." Then she left. Just turned and walked out, leaving the door wide open. And that was it. No chance to fix it. No chance to explain. Just me alone in my apartment, surrounded by the scraps of a lie I couldn't maintain anymore. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came later when I found out what she did next. 3 days passed without a word from her. I didn't text. I didn't call. I couldn't. Shame wrapped itself around my throat like a noose. I spent those nights in silence, lying on my mattress, staring at the ceiling fan spinning overhead, replaying every moment, every dinner, every gift, every lie I fed to keep her love alive. I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd cool down. That she'd remember the times I held her when she cried. The nights we stayed up talking about dreams and fears. I hoped that behind the anger there was still some part of her that saw me, the real me, and didn't hate what she saw. But I was wrong. On the 4th day, I saw it. A photo. She posted it on Instagram. Her, in a tight black dress I'd never seen before, standing beside a man I had seen before. Ryan Bishop. One of those rich kids from uptown. His dad owned a chain of dealerships. Trust fund. Private school. Always dressed like he walked out of a yacht catalog. I remembered the night I introduced them briefly at a party. She barely glanced at him then. But now she was glued to his side. Smiling. Leaning into his chest. Holding a champagne flute. The caption under the picture said it all. Real men don't need to fake it. It hit me like a freight train. Not just the betrayal but the humiliation. She didn't just leave me. She exposed me. Publicly. Subtly. Cruelly. Friends started sending me the post. Some laughing. Some pitying. A few asking if it was true, if I had really been pretending all along. I didn't respond. What could I say? I had built my image like a house of cards. And she'd taken pleasure in blowing it all down. I wish I could say I got angry. That I stood up, marched over, and told her off. But I didn't. I sank. I stayed in bed. Let calls go unanswered. Skipped work. I just shut down. It wasn't just heartbreak. It was exposure. Vulnerability laid bare for everyone to see. I wasn't just dumped, I was unmasked. And it wasn't over. Because Ryan wasn't just a rebound. He was a warning shot. She was about to burn everything. A week later I got the message. Not a call, not a visit, just a cold, digital slap in the face. It was from her, a single-line text that read, "You should have been honest from the start." I don't do broke boys. No punctuation. No warmth. No remorse. It would have been easier to take if she'd just vanished. But no, she wanted me to know. She wanted to twist the knife. And she didn't stop there. She started showing up in places where she knew I'd see her, only now always with Ryan. At Tyler's rooftop birthday party. At the gym I'd been going to for years. Even at the cafe down the block from my apartment. Each time, she made sure I saw her laugh a little louder. Touch Ryan a little more obviously. Dress a little flashier. She wanted me to watch her upgrade. And Ryan? He played along. He wasn't dumb, he knew who I was. He'd heard the rumors, probably seen the receipts she showed him. I'm sure she told him everything. Made herself the victim. Painted me as some sad, desperate fraud who tricked her with false dreams. He'd nod, grin, maybe even pity me. But mostly he enjoyed it. The way men like him do, born into wealth, never having to fight for affection. He didn't love her. I could see it. But he loved owning what used to be mine. I tried to move on. I really did. I worked longer hours. Paid back what I could. Started wearing my old clothes again, the ones that actually belonged to me. Stopped pretending. I told myself that maybe this was a blessing, that being exposed would set me free. No more lies. No more pressure. Just reality. But some nights I still woke up angry. Other nights I woke up hollow. I think of the way she used to look at me like I was everything. And then I'd remember how quickly that gaze turned to disgust. The worst part? She hadn't just left me. She hadn't just replaced me. She laughed about it. To her, I was a joke. And she was just getting started. Because what she did next wasn't just cruel. It was calculated. The final blow didn't come through gossip or whispers. It came through a video. A full-blown, high-definition, polished piece of cinematic humiliation. It popped up on my feed one morning while I was eating instant noodles before a shift. A mutual friend had reposted it. It was a couple's Q&A video on YouTube. Ryan and her sitting side by side on a white leather couch in what looked like a luxury penthouse, sipping wine and laughing like they were America's golden couple. At first, it was harmless, the usual fluff. How they met, favorite vacations, inside jokes. But then came the question that changed everything. Have you ever dated someone who pretended to be rich? Her laugh cut through me like glass. It was the same laugh she used to make when I tickled her sides in bed. The same one she'd used when I made bad jokes during movies. But now it was sharp. Weaponized. She leaned forward, all fake humility and charm, and said, "Oh, absolutely. My last boyfriend was such a poser. He literally begged and borrowed to keep up this whole rich guy act. It was honestly sad. Like, why lie? Just be broke and honest." Ryan laughed beside her. Not because it was funny, but because he knew exactly who she was talking about. Everyone who knew us did. She kept going. He once gave me a handbag that he said was from Saks. Turned out it was secondhand. I mean, come on. If you can't afford the lifestyle, don't date a girl like me. Then she winked at the camera. I guess some men just rent the dream until it crashes. I sat there, jaw clenched, the heat rising in my ears. I didn't even realize the noodles had gone cold. This wasn't just betrayal. This wasn't just heartbreak. This was public execution. She didn't just want to move on. She wanted to erase me, make me into a cautionary tale, a character in her twisted narrative of self-righteous success. I should have seen it coming. From the moment I gave her that necklace, the moment I pretended to be something I wasn't, I handed her the match. And now she'd set fire to everything. But the thing about fire is, sometimes it clears the way. And what comes after the burn isn't always ruin. I didn't reply. I didn't post some angry rebuttal or call her out or try to clear my name. What would be the point? People believe the version of the story they want to believe, and she had crafted hers with care, like a PR campaign. To most, I was just a delusional guy who thought he could play in the big leagues. A joke. Punchline. But I had something she didn't. I had the truth. And even though it burned like acid, it grounded me. For the first time in months, I stopped pretending, not just to others but to myself. I went back to work at the garage full-time. No more skipping shifts to stage fake weekend getaways. No more dodging loan payments. I sold the last remnants of that fake life. The watch I never really liked, the designer sneakers I couldn't afford. I moved to a smaller apartment, closer to the shop, with peeling paint and squeaky floors, but it was mine. Mine and real. And slowly, something unexpected began to happen. I started to feel peace. It wasn't immediate. The pain was still there, sure. Watching someone you loved turn your heart into content for clicks and laughs isn't something you get over in a week. But with every oil change, every honest paycheck, I began to rebuild the pieces of myself she had tried to shatter. Tyler was the first to notice. "Man, you look lighter," he said one evening as we locked up the garage. I nodded. "Feels like I'm finally breathing my own air again." He gave me a sideways glance. "You thinking about getting back out there?" The question hit me like a splash of cold water. Dating? Love? Trusting someone again after what happened? Felt impossible. But then I realized I wasn't afraid of being hurt again. I was afraid of losing myself again. Of folding myself into someone else's fantasy just to be worthy of their love. And that's when it hit me. What she did, the betrayal, the exposure, the mockery, it wasn't about me. Not really. It was about her. Her hunger for status. Her fear of being seen with anything less than picture perfect. Her desperate need to consume, to display, to win. I was just collateral damage in her climb. But I survived it. And something inside me began to shift. Not bitterness. Not revenge. Just clarity. It was nearly 6 months later when I saw her again. Not in person, but on another screen. A different video. This one wasn't sleek or edited. It was a shaky live stream someone had screen recorded and posted online. She was crying. Sitting in the passenger seat of a Rolls-Royce, makeup smeared, yelling at someone off camera. Ryan, her golden boy, her upgrade, her trophy, was now shouting back at her. His voice clipped and cold. "You think I didn't know?" he snapped. "You think I didn't check your messages? You were still texting him, weren't you? You played me just like you played him." She tried to deny it, swore she didn't, but the look on his face was pure contempt. He wasn't buying it. No one watching was. The comments poured in like vultures. "Guess rich boys get tired of drama too." She fumbled the bag again. That's what happens when you chase money over love. It was brutal. And for a brief moment, I felt it, that twinge of satisfaction, that rush of justice. The fall of someone who had climbed over me on their way up, now plummeting face first. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to send her the same cold message she once sent me. I don't do fake girls. I wanted her to feel what I felt. That ache, that shame, that hollow silence when the world turns on you. But I didn't. I just watched, quietly, and then I closed the video. Because in that moment, I realized something deeper than satisfaction. I didn't need her downfall to feel whole again. She was a chapter. A brutal, painful, humiliating chapter. But she wasn't my story. And my story wasn't about revenge. It was about rebirth. I started saving money, real money this time. No loans. No handouts. I opened a small detailing side business out of the garage and people came. Word spread. Honest work, fair prices, no bullshit. I earned every dollar. I wore thrift store jeans and basic tees and I was proud of them. Because they were mine. One night, while locking up, I caught a glimpse of myself in the window. Just a reflection, tired eyes, grease on my hands, a faint scar from a wrench mishap. But it was the most authentic version of me I'd ever seen. And I liked him. More than the guy in borrowed suits. More than the man chasing someone else's dreams. I was no longer someone pretending to be rich. I was finally someone who knew the value of what couldn't be bought. It was a Thursday afternoon when the past knocked, not metaphorically, but literally. I was under a lifted Dodge Ram, tightening a stubborn bolt, sweat dripping into my eyes, when I heard the soft jingle of the bell above the garage door. I slid out expecting another walk-in customer. What I saw froze me mid-wipe with the dirty rag. It was her. Standing in the doorway, arms crossed, sunglasses perched on top of her head like a crown she no longer deserved. Her hair was tied back, her makeup light. She looked human. Not curated. Not filtered. "Hey," she said, almost too casually. I didn't answer. Just stood there, letting the weight of the moment settle in. She glanced around the garage, then back at me, her eyes flickering with something I couldn't name. Guilt? Regret? Nostalgia? I was in the area, she offered weakly, as if that explained anything. I raised an eyebrow. Really? All the way downtown? She sighed. I heard you started your own business. Tyler posted about it. I nodded slowly, still saying nothing. I just wanted to check in, I guess, she continued. See how you're doing. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was surreal. After all the things she'd said, all the ways she'd humiliated me, here she was checking in. I'm doing fine, I said plainly, turning back to my workbench. Really good, actually. There was a pause. A long one. I could feel her watching me, trying to piece together a script that might soften the wreckage she left behind. But nothing came. I was wrong, she finally said. About you. About a lot of things. Another beat passed. I turned back to her, wiping my hands on the rag. You were right about one thing, though. She tilted her head. What's that? I was pretending. Pretending I could buy someone's love. Pretending money mattered more than honesty. I shrugged. Guess we both learned something. Her eyes dropped to the floor. I didn't come here to ask for anything, she said quietly. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. And for a second I saw it, the version of her that existed before the greed, before the hunger for status devoured her. Maybe it was real. Maybe it was just another performance. I didn't care anymore. Thanks, I said. I accept it. But I don't need it. She nodded, slowly backing toward the door. As she turned to leave, she looked over her shoulder one last time. You really loved me, didn't you? I met her gaze. Steady. Clear. I did. And then I went back to work. Because closure doesn't always come in fireworks. Sometimes it comes in quiet clarity. Life after that didn't suddenly turn magical. There were no fairy tale twists, no cinematic love waiting around the corner. But there was peace, honest, earned, imperfect peace. And in a world that had once revolved around appearances and pretending, that peace felt like the rarest luxury of all. I kept building my little business. What started as detailing cars out of the garage expanded slowly. I partnered with a few local dealerships to handle their reconditioning work. Word of mouth did what money never could. It gave me credibility, respect, even pride. There was a woman who came into my life eventually. Her name was Lauren. She wasn't flashy. She didn't wear designer or anything. She didn't care about Instagram followers or how expensive a place looked. She cared about people. About real conversations, about loyalty, about showing up. The first time she came over, I cooked pasta from a box, nothing fancy. She smiled and said it was perfect. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had to perform. I told her the truth from day one. About the garage. About my past. Even about her, the girl who once made me believe I had to buy love to be worthy of it. Lauren just listened. No judgment. Just understanding. That kind of patience, that kind of quiet strength, it was more valuable than any diamond. One evening, Lauren asked me something that stuck with me. We were sitting on the hood of my old Chevy watching the sun sink behind the skyline. Do you regret it? She asked. Everything with her? I thought for a long time before I answered. No, I said slowly. I regret why I did it. I regret lying. But if I hadn't gone through all of that, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be me. Because pain, as brutal as it is, teaches you things comfort never can. It shows you your limits, then pushes you past them. It reveals the difference between being seen and being used, between love and transaction. And most importantly, it introduces you to the version of yourself you were always meant to become, not when you're pretending, but when you're finally free. I don't hate her. Not anymore. I think she was just lost in a world that taught her value came from what you wore and who you stood next to. But I've found something different. Not flash. Not fame. Not applause. Just truth. And that's enough. Looking back now, it's strange how something so painful can lead to something so grounding. I used to think betrayal was the end of the road, that once someone shattered your trust, nothing good could come after. But I was wrong. Sometimes betrayal isn't the end. Sometimes it's the beginning. I don't tell this story for sympathy. I'm not looking for applause or pity. I tell it because someone, somewhere, might be stuck in that same cycle I was in, trying to be enough for someone who only sees value in your wallet, not your worth. Someone who thinks love must be earned through gifts, dinners, expensive gestures. I want them to know you are not a transaction. You are not a showroom model to be appraised. You are not less because you have less. And loved real love doesn't keep a scoreboard of what you've bought or where you've been. It shows up when you're broke, tired, wearing the same hoodie for the third day in a row. It stays when the money runs low, when the days are long, when all you have to offer is your time, your heart, your honesty. If someone walks away because you can't meet their material standards, let them go. They're not leaving because you failed, they're leaving because they were never truly with you in the first place. They were with the illusion, the image, the perks. But once that illusion fades and all that's left is you, that's when the right people show up. People who see beyond the price tag. People who value the story, not the costume. That heartbreak taught me that love built on lies will always collapse. But love built on truth? It doesn't need glitter to shine. So to the girl who thought she broke me, thank you. You didn't destroy me. You freed me. And to anyone listening, sitting in the wreckage of a love that turned out to be counterfeit, trust me. There is life after betrayal. There is peace after pain. And if you let it, your truth will become your greatest strength. Because nothing is more powerful than loving yourself enough to stop begging to be chosen. You are already enough. Exactly as you are.